It's cold, dark, and eerily quiet. You feel like you've arrived in the middle of a frigid winter's night, but it's actually a spring afternoon. This is just what spring looks like now, 1 year since the asteroid hit. Clouds of dust and soot and sulfur block out the sun. What little light reaches through to illuminate the gloom reveals to you a bleak, desolate wasteland. You spot the skeletal outline of a dead tree, what was once some kind of conifer. Its wood is black and charred, and its branches are totally bare. And surrounding it are countless stumps of fallen trunks of what was once a thriving late Cretaceous forest. But that was before the asteroid hit, before the global wildfires that it triggered, and before the impact winter descended on the world in its aftermath. And now, you're standing in an early Paleocene graveyard of that once vibrant habitat. Every hint of green has vanished, replaced with only shades of gray, and the whole place carries a lingering stench of smoke and rot. With the world cast into darkness, photosynthesis has almost completely shut down, devastating ecosystems across the world. As you slowly creep through the decimated remains of the forest, you start to wish you'd brought a flashlight. On the ashy ground in front of you are faint depressions that lead towards the forest edge. You follow them until, eventually, you see what might have made them. An enormous skeleton of a sauropod dinosaur stretches nearly 30 meters across the clearing. Patches of bone peek through a layer of dust and ash that has settled over its remains. You kneel down and gently place your hand on its cold, 2-meter-long thigh bone, a small way of paying your respects to a species the likes of which the world will never see again. You can't tell exactly what killed it, maybe a mega tsunami just hours after the impact itself, or maybe the firestorms that raged in the days after. Or perhaps it was simply the loss of vegetation that the giant animal fed on, slowly starving it to death in the cold, dark weeks that followed. This sauropod couldn't know it, but it was part of the last generation of its kind to ever walk the earth. These giants that once seemed invulnerable, literally too big to fail, are now gone, along with around 75% of all species globally. You solemnly walk the length of its gigantic skeleton, but it's not long before you stumble upon the remains of another dead dinosaur, the skull of a tyrannosaur with 15-centimeter teeth and its jaws gaping open. Its cause of death, like the sauropods, is unknowable to you. Even if it survived the immediate aftermath of the impact, it couldn't survive the loss of its prey for very long. The giant carnivorous dinosaurs were merely the next domino to fall in the chain of collapsing ecosystems. They too are gone from the world, the very last of the survivors having run out of corpses to scavenge. But not all of the dinosaurs are gone for good. And as you continue trudging through the ashy wasteland, you notice the shape of something small and feathery, rustling through the soil. It's a bird, a rare dinosaur survivor, the only one you've seen so far. As you watch it poke through the detritus with its beak, you quickly realize how it's been able to survive for so long. It's feeding on nuts and seeds that are lying dormant in the soil, ones that have survived the firestorms, sustaining some small generalists until ecosystems can recover. And it isn't alone, because as the bird digs through the dirt, another survivor suddenly comes into view, peeking its furry head out of the hole of a fallen tree trunk to investigate the noise. It looks kind of like a cross between a shrew and a squirrel, but it's actually the earliest known primate, making it more closely related to you than to either of them. Its name is Purgatorius, and it too has somehow managed to survive in this post-apocalyptic wasteland. You and your tiny, scrappy ancient relative are separated by 66 million years of evolution, but right now, you both have the same exact mission: to make it through the darkest days of planet Earth. Hello, and welcome to Eons, Surviving Deep Time, a podcast that gives you a human's eye view of what trying to survive in the past might have looked like. I'm Callie Moore, one of the hosts of PBS Eons, a YouTube channel about the history of life on Earth, and I'm here with Michelle Barboza Ramirez, one of my co-hosts, to figure out if we would have been dead or thriving in the aftermath of the asteroid impact at the end of the Cretaceous period. Hey, Michelle.
Hey, Callie.
That was pretty depressing.
I don't feel great about this one.
This is going to be rough, right?
I'm making a call right now that we're not going to be thriving.
Yeah, definitely not thriving, I don't think. So, all right, let's jump into this. What's one thing you know about the Cretaceous Paleogene mass extinction?
Not a time I would have chosen to time travel, because the
Mm,
one thing I know about it is big ol' space rock falling from the sky, killing basically everything.
yeah, yeah. The vibes are as bleak as they've ever been. Like this could be the single worst day in our planet's history.
Truly, because while this isn't the biggest mass extinction ever, that goes to the end Permian, that
Mhm,
happens over, a longer period of time. This is one day that ends it all. If you're
basically.
it just boop, there, uh, I'm scared, is what I'm
Yeah.
saying.
It's not great. You get tsunamis and earthquakes and global wildfires, and then on top of all that, the impact winter. So all the stuff that goes up into the atmosphere
And there's still
washed out.
volcanism happening on top of that too. So
Yep.
it's just coming from all angles, all sides, everywhere. I gotta say, when we said we were gonna be talking about the end Cretaceous extinction, I here was like, cool, we'll be in the Cretaceous, like we'll be here just before the meteor. When the meteor comes, then we just all die. That's fine. And then when you started reading and I realized it's a year after, I'm feeling like way worse. I thought I was just going to get the sweet release of death, when it came, and I was just going to worry about surviving through dinosaur times. But you're telling me I'm dropped into this post apocalyptic wasteland and then have to be surviving. And
Right.
this is a whole new scenario that I was not prepared for. So I'm learning in real time. And my one reaction is I am scared.
Yep, yeah, I know. The light is blocked out by this impact winter, the photosynthesizers are failing and have failed, ecosystems are collapsing like houses of cards. Most species are gonna die out or soon will, and the species, though, that go on define and dominate the Cenozoic era and eventually give rise to modern ecosystems, so we are at the cusp of our modern world at this moment, but right now, it gonna be rough.
It's gonna be, and you all didn't even give us like a couple thousand years or like a million years. 1 year? It's
1
basically the
year.
day after, like geologically speaking.
Yeah, and we even kind of know, like, this happened in the spring, so I'm in Montana, but we're on planet Earth, and we're getting in the Northern Hemisphere, we're getting close to spring anyways, and so it's, like, one of these, like, nice spring days,
And then
and
it's
then just
all gone
blammo.
for the
Yeah,
rest of
there's
your lifetime.
yeah,
Goodbye. Hope you enjoyed
goodbye.
your last spring day.
Yeah, it was bad. Yeah, so have you heard of the Tannis site?
No. What's the Tanis site?
So the Tannis site is this site in North Dakota where we have evidence of the impact of the day. And they used fish skeletons, paddlefish and sturgeon. And they have these little sphericals, these little glass beads that come from ejecta. So it goes up and then it rains back down as these little
Yes.
glass beads. Well, they're like embedded in their gills,
In the fish?
in the fish.
Like they died from the projectiles of like shock quartz just pew pew pewing into the.
They
Whoa.
probably died of a lot of different things, but,
They
like
might have been fried, yeah, but whoa.
but yeah, so you get these little sphericals in the gills, and then because of the way that fish grow, they have annual rings, kind of like trees, so they have a fast-growing season and a slow-growing season, and
Mhm.
it looks like they were just coming out of the slow-growing season, so it had to have been, like, early spring,
Okay,
early
so
summer.
I knew that the idea right now is like late or mid spring, based on another factor, which was the types of plants that were found
Oh, yeah.
during this time. So I can't remember which plant specifically, but I know that based on the two plants, there's an overlap where one plant was already flowering and the other plant is about to start flowering.
Mhm.
And so that also like helps us narrow it down to a season, which like geologically speaking, especially the further back we go in time, we're happy if we get something within a million years, a couple hundred thou. So the fact that we know what time of year within an individual year this catastrophic day happened was very surprising to me, but also like super exciting. Go paleobotany and
Yeah,
paleobio. Like, wow,
right.
okay.
I know, and if you could pick the worst time ever for an asteroid to hit, it would be during, like, baby season.
It's true. Everything's out of hibernation because the things that survived are going to be the things that are underground and missing the worst of it. And so, wow. Okay, imagine how differently life would have evolved on Earth, though, if it was during hibernation time and more of the different species had survived.
Yeah, it
It's
could
the
be totally
butterfly
different
effect,
story.
but the
goodness.
season effect.
Bad days. Bad days are here. We are in the midst of the bad days post-extinction. So we have some concerns for survival. And I have 4 main categories here. We have climate, we have environmental geological hazards, we have animal hazards, and food and water. What is your first priority out of those?
This is going to sound dumb, but it's a valid idea here. I'm asthmatic, Kelly. And being in a world that's basically just like dust and ash and particulate matter in the air. I know we usually talk about like what's the one thing we would bring with us. I want to say inhaler, but at the same time, I don't know how many puffs I'm going to make it through. So that's my number one concern.
All right. Well,
if it had been before, the meteor, I would have been like, oh my God, I'm going to get eaten by a T-Rex or something. Now I'm just not going to be able to breathe. So it's kind of a sad way to go out. I rather would have gotten chomped on by a T-Rex.
Right, then just slowly suffocated, right?
Oh, go on without me, Kelly. Please. Yeah, it's going to be sad.
Okay, well, let's start with environmental and geological hazards and air pollution. Yeah, because like the air is still really heavy with dust and soot, which is going to make breathing uncomfortable. We have both lived in wildfire places here in the Pacific Northwest and down in SoCal for you earlier, and now you're in the Pacific Northwest with us. But that sucks. That's not a fun time.
No.
Trying to breathe in all that wildfire smoke. And it's still going to be around. We're still in an impact winter.
I mean, apart from the fact that it's hard to breathe, that not wildfire dust, but that particulate matter is going to get in all of what would have been our fresh water, right? Like, That's the other thing I'm thinking about is food obviously is going to be super hard to find, but like just fresh water, is it all going to be super dusty and gross? And
well, on top of that, we think that the asteroid may have been rich in heavy metals, and many of those are toxic to vertebrates. So it's polluting the land, the air, the water with things like arsenic, cadmium, lead, mercury.
Great. All in the air.
All in the air. And then you also have iridium. So the way that we found out about the KPG impact was through iridium. And it's one of the rarest elements on Earth today in Earth's crust, but it's found in meteorites in much higher abundance. And in this little layer, in the KPG layer, there's like 1,000 times more than you would anticipate. Now, naturally occurring iridium is not radioactive. It's pretty stable. It has 2 stable isotopes. Now, humans, because we be crazy, we can bombard the stable and turn it into a radioactive member of iridium. And that one can cause burns to your skin, acute radiation sickness, and even death. And if you swallow it, it can really mess up your stomach and your intestines. Now, we don't know. I could not find, and none of the team could find what type of isotope of iridium is at the KPG boundary, but you can find it with a Geiger counter. So there is radioactive material in it that is now in the atmosphere as well.
How did anything survive?
I don't know.
How is there any life on Earth right now?
I don't know. I really don't know. It was like really bad. Like it couldn't have been tragically bad everywhere.
Or just the lifestyles of certain things where maybe they didn't need as much water or they weren't ingesting as much of the radioactive stuff. But based on how we need to drink water every day and eat quite a lot every day, I think this is the fastest we're going to go out.
It could be because like in all other extinction events too, especially the ones that are driven by like volcanic events and things like that, we get acid rain. You got to deal with that, although it's not like Simpsons style, like melting off your bowling jacket or anything, but your eyes and your skin might become irritated. It also can mess with the water. It's gonna just be nasty. And you mentioned earlier, the Deccan traps are still going.
Yeah, we don't want to be anywhere near India.
Luckily, it's in the middle of the ocean right now, so it's going to be a little tougher to get to.
Okay.
And there's probably not a whole lot of other volcanic eruptions going on. I found a little bit of evidence for some in Scotland. I don't know where we're at right now. I'm assuming Northern Hemisphere, but
Yeah.
if we do run across any hot stuff, any lava, it might be a really good way to get our fires going.
That's true. Maybe what was once our worst enemy is now our greatest ally.
Right? Who knows? Oh,
Look,
man.
here's another baby thing to worry about, and this is, like a problem for later when we're surviving, but like lack of sunlight, that vitamin
Mm,
D, baby. I know that when we're up here in the Pacific Northwest during winter, we like bust out our little daylight lamps. If we're alive, we're just going to be sad.
it's going to be sad. Yeah. So that's a great segue, I think, into the next problem that we got to think about, which is the climate. So with our environmental geological hazards, obviously air pollution, we still got acid rain, we got volcanism, but with climate though, lack of sunlight is a definite thing. So we're thinking 2 years of darkness right now. The current estimates have it about 2 years of darkness, and I think up to like 15 years to get back to like 100% light, but 2 years of darkness. And so we're right at the apex of impact winter right now.
Ugh.
And so, yeah, we're going to have to find vitamin D.
Our eyes are not adapted for 2 years of darkness.
Yes, I
Like we're gonna
know.
be stumbling around out in the like ashy dark again, this is not boding well for us. Like we could literally just trip on a tree shoe and fall on a rock, hit our heads, and go out again.
Boom.
Like the saddest we've gone out. All the predators I think are gone. The ones that are like small things are surviving, and then there's us. So we're literally just gonna go out of like starvation, dehydration, tripping on a rock, not having my asthma inhaler. This is so sad.
This is probably the saddest episode. And also just like seasonal depression. I mean,
Yeah.
we're just going to be sad all around. Just all sad. Our circadian rhythm is going to get all screwed up because we don't have any sunlight to tell us when
Uh,
it's daytime or nighttime. Yeah, low energy
we'll be
levels.
so cold. We got to move like towards the tropics, right? Because I know like even before the polar night happened, is that what it's called?
Impact
Before
winter,
before
but
the impact. Okay. So I want to be somewhere near the tropics and the equator because even before all of this was going on, if you were up near the poles, you have like 4 months of darkness
mhm,
still, right? Like they
mhm.
have their polar winter up there. So that already would have not been super great for me. But now we're adding in the impact winter. I-
Well, and thinking about going and getting closer to the equator is also tricky because like
no.
that's where it hit, in the Yucatan
Mm,
Peninsula. And
mm-hmm.
so anything within 2,000 kilometers of that impact was incinerated, just poof, gone. It's not there anymore. And so, like, even though it would be warmer, it's also like one of the worst places to be.
We just can't win.
No, there's no winning because like global average surface temps drop by up to 25 degrees Celsius.
Whew. That's a lot.
So a lot of parts of the world are now a little below freezing. So yes, you're right. Staying warm is definitely a priority.
How are we going to stay warm? Because, like, theoretically, there were trees, but there was global wildfires after this,
Mhm.
right? So a lot of the stuff's burned down
Burnt.
or
Yep.
dead or like, and we don't have fur. And like the things that do have fur are super tiny. So unless we dedicate a lot of energy to hunting a lot of little mammals and building a scrappy little fur coat, that's not looking great. Maybe we can find some of the little birds that are left and pluck their little down. Oh, this is getting gruesome, but look, it's a survival situation. I think it's possible, but it's going to be really hard.
Yeah, yep, definitely. Because like a lot of the wood is already burnt. You can't start
Yeah.
a fire with burnt wood. So that's gonna be tough. Lighting a fire is gonna be not easy unless
I
we
I like your idea of actually getting closer to the volcanism. Like that's just a pre-made little heater that we just gotta stand near, warm our hands against the magma, the lava fire.
the lava fires. Yep. I guess we could also like seek shelter, find a little cave or a burrow and line it with feathers and
Uh,
little tiny rat pellets. pelts. Stay
Oh.
warm, keep moving. Oh yeah, geothermal springs. We still got hot springs.
You're right.
They
You're
are
right.
still around.
Maybe they're a little radioactive from all the iridium, but I mean, lesser of any evil.
Yeah, I mean, there is a
Hmm.
place called Radium Hot Springs, and it has elevated levels of radium, and everybody
Look,
flocks
we're
to it.
already dying. We might as well die by hanging out in some hot springs and having a
Heck
good
yeah,
last few
be
days.
comfortable and warm as we die of radioactive sickness and stuff. Yeah, and asthma attacks and suffocation.
Oh,
Oh my gosh. Yeah, so we got to keep moving though. We got to find some type of shelter. We're going to have to do something about insulation and keeping ourselves warm. And dealing with the lack of sunlight. So the climate is not really our friend at all.
no. And I feel like other times when we've thought about time travel or like survival situations, I'm like, yeah, we can like eat plants or use plants fibers to like build nets and ropes, or we can like whittle a spear or all these things where I'm like, is any of that even left? Or is it just all charred and burned? Because we know that plants survived because their seeds survived, but within a year, those seeds will have not already sprouted and grown into beautiful, big, usable plant material. So we're kind of in this horrible limbo of good luck, make it through because you're not going to see lovely plants for a while.
No. Well, let's talk about food and water, actually.
Okay.
Let's
What food? What water?
what food, what water, right? Well, we know the little birdies are surviving because they're eating nuts and seeds.
How many
We
nuts and seeds
too.
per day do you think we need to
I
eat
don't
to
know.
survive, Callie?
I don't know. It takes a really long time to starve to death, actually, like a month sometimes.
Great. We
So
get to
we can
suffer.
eke it out. It's going to be that water, man. It's going to be finding clean water that's not going to kill us from the inside out. So
Yeah.
that's going to be
Well,
the
okay.
trouble.
So we can follow the little birdies to find the nuts and seeds, but then we'll
Mhm.
have the other little birdies whom we roast on a little fire and eat their little
Yes.
eggs. So maybe
Yep. So
food is possible. It'll be kind of a
yeah.
boring, bland diet, but
Hey,
I
it, it's been a lot blander on these travels. So,
that's
I want
true.
some birds and eggs and seeds and nuts.
That's
It's not,
true.
it's not
That's
too
almost a
bad.
charcuterie. Yeah.
I know. And I guess we could follow these little animals. They got to drink water too. Maybe they found a clean source. Maybe a spring. I mean, if we got hot springs,
Yeah.
maybe there's a natural spring that we can just like push our faces into
Yeah.
to
Again,
drink it
follow the
before.
animal. We'll have actually we should find some of the little mammals because if they're able to eat and drink, that's probably going to bode the best for us.
Yes, we
So
are all
our
primates.
forefathers will guide the way.
Yep. Yep. Definitely. And nuts and seeds are pretty calorie dense. So,
It's true.
I mean, got the healthy
Okay.
fats and stuff.
Yeah.
There definitely is a spike in fern spores in the early Paleogene, and it shows that they were some of the first plants to recover.
Okay.
But that's not likely until the impact winter is over. So
Yeah.
we might see maybe one, maybe two ferns, but for the most part, it's probably like no plants. No plants.
Look, again, as the resident vegetarians, I don't love this situation for us.
Not at all. I don't either. Like I don't oh.
I was really
We
excited actually initially because I knew that in the Cretaceous is when we first get our flowering plants. And by the late Cretaceous, they've basically almost taken over and become the
Mhm.
more common of our plants. And so I was looking up, like, ooh, like what kinds of fruits might have been around. And we have like figs and we have magnolias and we have these things that are very similar to like finger sops and pawpaws, which are this almost like tropical flavor little fruit. And I was like, okay, this is good. I can live off of this. This will be fun. But no, y'all put me a year after the extinction event. So all my beautiful plans of how I get to eat fruit and be in a hammock that I sewed and like wove together from palm fronds, gone. So thank you. I was like actually very excited. Do I sound bitter? I'm a little bitter.
But you are a forager, correct?
Yeah, but the places that I go foraging are not where a wildfire, earthquake, meteor impact have happened. My limits
True.
are only so far.
But another kind of we call these disaster taxa that show up after a big disaster and they kind of take over for a while. So ferns are one of them. Another one of them are fungi.
That was
So
my next point. Okay, yes, good.
yes.
Yes.
So fungi are having the time of their lives right now. They are abundant. They're non-photosynthetic decomposers. They're feeding off the mass death and cool darkness. I mean, this is it for them. This is peak fungus at the moment.
But are you scared like I am? Because I
100%.
only forage a little bit of fungi. Like, I love a morel. They show up after burns. But I've got like 3 fungi that I can ID. And the other ones, I'm like, if I took a little bite of you, I die. Then again, in this situation, I'll be like, well, it's my time, Callie. I get it's fine. I'm not missing out on much. So maybe we.
Yeah.
And again, we can watch what the mammals are eating. Because if they start eating any of those fungi,
we know that they may be safe. Yeah. So it might be
Mhm.
a little Russian roulette situation going on with the fungi, but there are a lot of them.
Okay,
The
I've
other
had a
thing-
thought.
Okay, yes.
Okay, so I've had a thought. And if we are heading towards the oceans, right?
Mhm.
Most seaweed is edible. Is it all nutritious? Not necessarily, but like, are our oceans acid oceans and not safe? Can we fish at all? Because at this point, we have a lot of seafood that would have worked for us. Like clams are already there. We've got lobsters and crabs, all of our modern fish, sharks. The like big scary predators are gone. Goodbye mosasaurs, goodbye plesiosaurs, which before I would have been scared to go to the ocean. But now I'm like, I think we could handle a sturgeon. Like that might be a good way to actually get some good vitamins, some minerals, some whatever you get from eating fish that we
And
wouldn't
caviar.
get. Yeah, caviar. Yeah, I want to eat caviar. Yum.
Yeah, you're exactly right. The marine ecosystems, all of the big predators are gone. We don't really have to worry about those. Sharks are kind of small at this point. All the big ones go extinct. Not too bad, not too bad. However, we could find fish and turtles, amphibians, crocodiles. Crocodiles still around. We'll talk about more of those in a minute.
Okay.
There's still giant soft-shelled turtles around that some are as long as 1.5 meters, 5 feet wide.
Turtle soup?
Turtle soup. We got gars, although as other ones, alligator gar are going to be pretty tough to get into because they've got like armored scales on them. They're kind of a pain. So yeah, actually freshwater ecosystems saw the lowest levels of extinction. A lot of life is still happening in freshwater ecosystems.
Okay.
There's still some stuff to eat in the oceans as well. So maybe finding a pond would be also good. I actually want to swing back around and talk about fungus a little bit more because we might run into psychedelic magic mushrooms because a new preprint just came out as of, what is this? This is April 26, 2024, that says that the genus psilocybe evolved right after the KPG. And so it might be around. We might run into it. And the researchers think that they developed their mind-altering chemical defenses to ward off terrestrial gastropods like slugs that are like doing their thing after the aftermath feeding on fungi.
Man, if there's ever a time that we need our wits about us, it is right now. That could basically be our end. Again,
no kidding.
We're tripping, we trip mentally and then trip physically over a rock. And it's just this whole oh no.
So yeah, so we got magic mushrooms, we got toxic mushrooms. We do probably have safe mushrooms, whether or not we'll find those ones first. We have slugs. I guess we could use the slugs as bait. I don't think I could ever find myself eating a slug.
Okay, I thought you were about to suggest that because first you said caviar and now you're about to say eating slugs. Look, just let me die.
So we do have mammals. So there is a possibility that we could milk one of those early mammals and make butter and then saute our slugs in ancient mammal butter.
No, let me die. Let me die.
I mean, they got nipples, they can be milked.
The mammals that we have are still like pretty small, right?
Right.
Most of the things that survived are pretty small.
Yes.
So like even if we're hunting mammals and eating those, we'd have to get like a ton per day to actually be able to get enough nutrition. I don't know if the like energy we're exerting is going to come back with what we're actually hunting and foraging.
Yeah. The one thing we got going for us, a tiny little silver lining, a glowing silver lining, if you will, is that some of these mushrooms could be bioluminescent.
Oh!
Yeah. So just like
Oh!
fields of glowing little mushrooms, because bioluminescence, at least one group that we know of being bioluminescent, show up in the Cretaceous, like over 100 million years ago. So like there's
I'm
a
back in. I'm back in. It's a magical fairyland. Excuse me.
well,
What?
a magical fairyland nightmare, but yes.
Huh.
So we got some light. We could set up camp in a little field of bioluminescent fungi so we could kind of see.
And if we are able to get fires going, and have a little like never-ending fire with us, because the air is already not great, so we might as well throw more smoke in there. I don't know, man. It's still pretty bleak. I was back in for a second, and then I remembered the reality of the situation.
It's gonna be rough. I mean, food-wise, though, we've mentioned quite a few foods that are available to us.
But do you think we can fish in the dark? And tell apart the mushrooms well enough in the dark? It's like, let's say that we are doing well, and we managed to survive for 2 years, and then the sunlight kind of starts coming back. Now I'm starting to feel a little bit better. Once we start seeing little plant shoots come up, those are probably edible, but still.
But we're not 2 years out yet. We're only a year out yet. So yeah, I mean, we got fungus. We ain't got no plants. There's no plants, but we do have fungus. We have birds. We've mentioned birds. We got little small quail-like ground-dwelling species. We got their eggs too.
We can take their feathers for warmth.
Yep. And eggs are also a good source of vitamin D, which is going to help us. Definitely.
Who needs the sun when you've got wild game eggs?
Yes.
Yum.
Wonderful. Tiny. Have you seen quail eggs? I mean,
they're like to get a batch of scrambled eggs, we're gonna decimate whatever the proto quails are. We're changing the course of history.
We are. We're gonna have to eat a lot.
When I thought we were going to like before the extinction, I wasn't worrying about like altering the timeline, because basically like literally 95% of species die out anyway. Right. So it's like the possibility that the 5% is what we're gonna hurt, not that big. But now only 5% is left. And if we are now eating all the eggs of one of those, I don't know, all of a sudden the timeline is starting to shift.
Yeah, well, we got to be careful. I guess don't eat them all. Leave one egg every time we collect. Yeah, leave one egg.
That is a good forager's rule.
Yeah. We also have mammals. We've mentioned the little small rodent-like generalists. They are going to be small. It's going to be a snack, but I guess we're not really looking for meals at this point. We're kind of just snacking our way through the early Paleogene. Also, we got to eat their livers too.
Why?
They're full of vitamin D.
Eating will no longer be fun and delicious. No. It will simply be a thing my body needs to go on. And to what end, I ask you? Before, I was so excited to be in the past. I had my little nature journal. I was like getting to observe how different animals interact. I was getting to do my like foraging and botany studies. And now it's forever night with dust and I'm wheezing and maybe I have to eat slugs. I'm so out on this one.
How do you feel about eating frogs? Because they did weirdly well during this whole thing. We got a bunch of mid-sized frogs running around.
Sounds better than slugs.
Yeah.
So
agreed.
Yeah, I guess I'm in.
Yeah. Some researchers think that medium-sized frogs were the ones that made it through because frogs need to stay moist to survive. And so small frogs absorb water fast, but also dry out fast. And big frogs can hold on to their moisture for longer, but they also take longer to rehydrate. And so like medium size is like the Goldilocks zone of like frog survival. So they were especially resilient to this extinction event. So there's lots of little frog leg snacks we could eat. Not too bad.
Okay, well, speaking of smaller things, because that's all that's left. Initially I was worried about the larger predators that might come after us. But now I'm thinking, are there snakes we have to worry about? Are there venomous spiders or little scorpions and stuff? Because I feel like little scorpions and spiders are going to do just fine. So I don't know, like it's kind of easier to build a barricade against a T-Rex and hide in a little cave versus when we're in the cave. What if I sit down, I put my butt against a rock, I get stung, goodbye, I'm out again.
It could be quick, but you mentioned insects. Those are also a source of food. So
Aw.
We can eat bugs. I know. We do see a hit. Like insects do take a hit in this extinction event. Mainly, we find their extinction through insect feeding damage on fossil leaves. And we see that
Oh.
damage decreases about 42% across the KPG. So like they're still there, but they were affected. But what's also very cool is that some of them have learned to glow as well. So fireflies are around and
Since the KPG?
they think that they glowed green.
Okay, so maybe we bring mason jars to the KPG and we just collect little fireflies in our mason jars, carry them around like a little lantern, and then that's kind of cute. And then I have some whimsy in my depressing life.
Little bit of whimsy. Yeah. So food and water, we got it. It's small, no plants. We got fungi. We got to watch out. It's going to be scary, but I think we're going to have to deal with it. We got little birds. We got little mammals. We got little frogs, medium-sized frogs, insects, and then a whole bunch of stuff that's still living in freshwater ecosystems, fish and turtles and amphibians, crocodiles, crocodilians have eggs, turtles have eggs. We can eat them. We must cook them well to make sure that they don't have any parasites or any nasty stuff in them. But like they're there. So food-wise, not the best smorgasbord, but like
possible to survive.
Right.
Not delightful to survive,
No.
but possible.
Possible. But you're right. There are some things that we do need to worry about as animal predators. So animal hazards is another category that we need to talk about. And you mentioned snakes. Snakes do take a hit in diversity. As few as only 6 lineages actually make it through. And they made it through though. So snakes are around. They probably lived in sheltered burrows. Again, everything that's going to survive has to get out of post-apocalyptic wasteland somehow. So we need to be careful when we go into caves or trying to find ourselves some burrows because there might be snakes in there. They can go a long time without eating. They can hunt effectively in low light situations. So kind of snakes were the ones that survived were kind of built for this life, but that's going to stuck for us because we don't know which ones are venomous.
Yeah, I want to say, and you can fact check me on this, but I want to say, if I remember correctly, the earliest evidence that we found, and how do you find the evidence from a fossil? I'm not totally sure. But at least from what I've heard, the earliest venomous snake that we know of in the fossil record was about 20 million years ago. But we know that there are other venomous things, right? Like therapsids, we think might have been venomous,
Could
and those
be.
are all the way from the Permian. So this is a little more scary to me because we're used to being scared of snakes.
Yeah.
Maybe they're just fine, and there's other things that have survived that we don't have fossils of course. And we're like, wow, look at that thing. And then that thing bites us, and then we're out. So I don't even know what to be afraid of anymore.
Everything. Be aware and afraid of everything. I feel like at this point in the game. And so, yeah, snake venom did evolve much earlier than 20 million years. And I think it's a little pocket in the jaw. There's a little venom pocket. And so you find that pocket in a fossil and you're like, hey, that pocket held venom. Because I think that's the reason why we know some, or think possibly some therapsids, because they have a little pocket in their jaw. But still, though, I mean, not even knowing what to look out for. I mean, snakes.
Because before it was just, I see big teeth. I say, be on your merry way, my good sir. Now I can't even see.
No.
So that's a problem.
That's problem number 1. I can't see the threats that are threatening me. Oh my God.
Kelly, we're just going to have to hold hands through the KPG and like hope for the best.
Yeah, it's not going to be easy. And speaking of just other reptiles that we got to worry about, there could be some surviving dinosaur predators. Like, we don't know for sure, but it's at least conceivable that a year after the impact, there might be some medium to large size dinosaur predators that are still just about surviving and still around.
And they're desperate. And we are the biggest snack around and the least well protected. Oh, no.
when I was looking into this, I did find a publication that said that there were about 33,000 years between the impact and the mass extinction of like when everything was like gone. So there's a very good potential that like there could be some stragglers, maybe not a lot, based on a lecture at AGU, like the intervals of like 650 to 700 days of darkness led to about 65% to 81% extinction across Hell Creek communities. So with us being 1 year in, we are probably around a 50, maybe 60% extinction event from the Hell Creek moving into the early Paleogene. So a lot of stuff is gone, but there's definitely potential for some dinosaurs to still be making our lives much tougher as we go through this.
Conversely, that's a lot of meat.
And I bet
if
they
we can
can't
take down
see
one
any
of those. Yeah, they can't see us. Dinosaur jerky to get us through the long winter. I don't know. Maybe this is good.
Maybe this is good. I'm assuming probably not the herbivores. The herbivores are probably toast, but maybe some like little mid-sized dinosaurs are still stalking around. We might be able to get one. Build like a little pit trap or something for it. And
that we hopefully don't fall into because, again, it's very dark.
We'll just like line it with bioluminescent stuff. Like carry around.
It's like a target. Come here, or don't.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, so we still got to kind of worry about dinosaurs. Who knows how much we have to worry about them, but I bet there's still some around somewhere.
Yeah, and if we're near some fresh water, which I'm thinking we'll have to be, they're also going to end up at that watering hole.
And they're going to be competing with what we know of as the largest and most dangerous threat to humans at this time, crocodilians. They make it through and they become like the biggest thing on land afterwards. After the extinction event, crocodilians are our biggest thing. They can go without food for a very long time. I think some modern crocs can go like a year without eating. So they
don't even have to worry about this whole impact winter. They're just going to chill in the water.
And oh my gosh, I seen pictures of like, so crocodiles are starting to move north because of climate change today. Modern crocs are moving north and they can be frozen. They stick their little nose tips out of the ice and they're just like frozen around it. But they're
what?
Like, yeah, sign me up. I'm the king of the apocalypse, kings and queens of the apocalypse.
Oh my God.
Yeah, so definitely crocs. Crocs we got to worry about. One of the largest known survivors is Thoracosaurus, and it was around 5 meters long. That's 16 feet long. So they were mostly fish catchers, but I doubt they would know our foot or hand from a fish. So that could be a bad day for us.
No chill swimming in the swamp.
Highly alert. We're definitely have to have a poke and stick of some kind. We're going to have to test the waters pretty good, like slap the water and see if a giant crocodile comes out after it. Oh my gosh.
I mean, again, it's dark. We're going to be like, look at that log by the water's edge. Let us sit down and have a snack. And then the log is a crocodile.
And it eats us. Yeah. Because 16 feet long, even if it's a fish eater, like I said, it looks more like a gharial than a normal crocodile. But there was another one, Borealosuchus. We've got a lot of their fossils. And it looks like more of your like normal fat-faced crocodile.
Yeah.
And it was up to 15 feet long. So it was also another big one that probably would have eaten bigger prey like us.
Yeah. And if they have the market cornered on the freshwater ponds with the fish, again, not so great for us. We can't do that whole moving up into the trees and building a cute little treehouse town anymore because the trees are no bueno. Every time my brain starts to go to, oh, maybe we could do this. Oh, maybe we can do that. Reality sets back in and says, alas, not at this time.
No. And it's not looking, I mean, again, we kind of talked about the marine setting a little bit earlier, but like we got some sharks, they survived. They're mostly little, like under 2 meters long. There was a big extinction of large stuff at the KPG. So we get like less than 2 meter long. They're mostly deep swimming species too. So sharks.
So we can't even access them.
sharks we can't, but there are still fish, but there is a marine crocodiliform, and it got up to 20 feet long. The Dryosaurids, this is the group. Yeah. And their snout, they have like a really long, thin snout that makes up to 68% of the total skull length.
So they look like very derpy. Cool. But they can hurt me. Great.
Derpy that can hurt me. So really, I mean, we would be mostly safe to swim in the oceans, but we definitely have to watch out for crocs because they're there too.
Yeah. Every time we said, what about this? What about that? The answer was, it's bad. And then it stays bad. And maybe it gets worse. That's the theme of this episode. Are you having fun with us?
This is gonna be. So with our animal hazards, we might have some leftover dinosaurs. We definitely have crocodilians. We have snakes of unknown venomousness. We got marine predators. Man, our food and water is all small. We got environmental dangers. It's going to be tough to make fire. It's going to be hard to find fresh water. Like, it's not looking
It's going to be
great.
cold.
It's going to be cold and
it's going to be hard to breathe.
So, now that you know a little bit more about the KPG, what do you think about your chances of survival? And do you still want to go?
Well, no, I do not. I'm out. Again, I was thinking this whole time we were going to before the Extinction event, and I was so set and ready and excited. And then I got this curveball thrown at me. And then as we discussed it more, it got worse and worse. And I'm not about it. I think theoretically we can survive, but at what cost and for what reason, Callie? There's nothing for me there.
Yeah.
Get me out of there. Never take me there. I'm good. Have fun. I'm out.
Yeah, I agree. Agreed. I do think we could survive it, but I definitely don't think we were going to be thriving in any way, shape, or form. It's going to be really hard. This is actually one of the hardest that I think we've done. Like, shockingly. Like, I mean, we were in the Cambrian where there was hardly any oxygen and there's nothing to eat, and I would almost rather go back to the Cambrian than do this again.
Yeah, nothing's going to eat you there, and you can still see.
Yeah, and mostly breathe.
Mostly-ish breathe. Yeah, I don't know.
Oof. All right. So what's the biggest mystery we could solve about the event if we could just like go there? I personally want to know why dinosaurs went extinct, non-avian dinosaurs went extinct, because we know not all of them were big. Mm-hmm. We know that some of them were small and feathered, non-avian feathered dinosaurs. We know of burrowing dinosaurs. We know of omnivores. We know that there were insectivores. Like, we know that non-avian dinosaurs had the characteristics of a lot of the survivors. So what was it about the non-avian ones that were unable to adapt?
That's a great question.
That's at least what I want to know.
I don't even know, because every time I start to think of a question, I think, it's too dark. You can't see. Get out. I'm so over this time period.
I just want to go home, you guys. I just want to go home.
Let me out of here.
I need the 21st century. Yeah. All right. So what's one item you'd take there with you?
Again, everything I think of where I'm like, a flashlight, batteries are gone. Solar power flashlight, there's no solar. Inhaler, I'm out of puffs in like a week.
What about the shake flashlight? Like,
ooh,
you shake it. And
yeah. But then again, it's like, what? I shied it and I see a crocodile and I'm like, okay, great. You know, maybe I need like a little like motivational guidebook or something to encourage me to stay alive. Because
keep your spirits up.
Yeah. Maybe I'll bring a novel with me. Oh, I can't read. It's too dark.
Chicken soup for the Cretaceous soul.
Like my usual answer again of my little nature journal, useless. A pillow. I'm taking a pillow. My little inflatable my backpacking pad, actually.
At least you'll be comfortable.
I don't need light to see that. My sleeping bag, maybe? I will burrow and hibernate into my little sleeping bag, and I'll be like, Kelly, wake me up in 2 years when this is over. That's all I got. My little comfort blanket.
Oh
And I
man.
got a little mummy bag too, so I will truly be like a little cocoon.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's it. I'm going catatonic. I'm out. I'm bringing my little sleeping bag, and I'm done.
So if you bring a sleeping bag, maybe bring a 2-person one and we'll help stay warm. And then I'll
Okay, I can do
bring
that.
like the shake flashlight. So we'll have
Yeah.
light that doesn't need the sun or a battery and some
And we'll
way to
have
stay
warmth through the
warm.
winter.
Yep.
Yeah.
I think
I didn't expect to get so sad and out on this episode. I apologize, but also I'm glad with my answer. I just want to huddle. I'm reverting back to like little baby mammal me, you know? I'm like, give me a little cave, give me a burrow, wake me up when it's over.
yeah. I mean that is definitely the survival technique of a lot of things. Is just to like cuddle and chill out and wait for the worst to be over. Okay, so what's one non-living souvenir you'd want to bring back with you to the present?
I mean, I was going to say like some sort of meteor impact souvenir, but you can get those today. You can find shocked quartz today. You can like go see
Yeah,
the
but you
iridium
can't
layer.
get a piece of the original Chicxulub asteroid though.
Look, though, if we're in the KPG at that time, I don't even know if we can get to the crater
I doubt
either,
it. It's
to
probably
be
still
fair.
hot. I think the asteroid's still sticking out of our planet by this time. Like, I'm
Ooh.
pretty sure the rock itself was, like, way bigger than Mount Everest, and when it hit, it was still sticking out of the planet bigger than Mount Everest. Like, it is a feature on the landscape now,
Oof.
even a year out. Like,
Yeah.
it is probably still, like, hot even. Like, how long does it take for liquid crust to
To
cool
cool?
completely? Man,
More than a year, I can tell you
jeez,
that.
it would be tough. I don't even know there's, like,
Like,
nothing to bring
yeah,
back.
what is there left?
Maybe if we could find like a big glass spherical, like a big piece of
Yeah.
glass that like rained down or something, that might look cool on a mantle, but
That was my first thought, like a shocked quartz or like
Mhm.
some, but then again, like, is that radioactive and kill it? I mean, we're dying
I don't know, we're
anyway.
dying anyway.
Every day is a march towards death. So
Yeah.
yeah, give it to me.
I guess we could get some fresh dinosaur bone and it would be dead enough that there wouldn't be any like crusties or goo on it. It would be naturally bleached. We could bring those back. Just a heads up. A fresh
No.
T-Rex skull, like no.
But then when you bring it back, does it start to like decompose and rot?
So it would depend on how long it's been out there in the sun, like old cattle
What
bones.
sun, Callie? What sun?
Yes.
I guess we just put it in a giant vat of like hydrogen peroxide and
Yeah.
get the
Cute.
dermestids to get anything else off of it.
Yeah. I mean, there
Fun
probably wouldn't
project.
be any meat or stuff on it. I mean, there's a lot of scavengers and a lot of things still got to eat. So,
I've had a thought.
yes.
You said a bone, but what bone specifically? I'm gonna take a whole T-Rex skull.
Okay.
I'm gonna clean it up. It's gonna be my little side table, like my little coffee table in my home. Wait a second, I'm back in. If I survive 1 year of the KPG and I get to bring this bad boy back to be my coffee table, maybe I'm back in.
Okay. Well, I have to be this person because I've been asked this question on a tour by like a 4th grader and then I had to look it up and now I have it forever in my brain because I found out about it. But we need a winch, like a thing that can pull, not like a medieval bar lady, but
I'll take either.
we're definitely gonna need some power because like a fresh T-Rex skull, like no muscle attached, no tongue, no eyeballs, just the bone, weighs like 350 pounds.
And we're not in the best shape of our lives
No.
here. Okay, that's what I'm going to say. Assuming we're getting to come back to the present, that means there is a time travel machine. And if we have developed time travel, then I would like to believe we have developed a little pocket device where I push a button and a wench pops out.
Yep.
I mean, a winch, not a wench. Well, maybe a wench who's operating a winch. And then that wench uses the winch to get my T-Rex head. And because I have a time travel machine, it's just all going to work out.
But yes, I also agree that a fresh T-Rex skull would be pretty dang cool if we could figure out how to get it in. I mean, our time machine could also be bigger on the inside than it is on the outside. So hopefully we got space for it too. So
Cue copyrighted music that we can't play right now, but you who know, you're playing it in your head.
Yep, everybody's playing it. Everybody's playing it. Oh, man. All right.
What are you bringing back, Callie?
No, I'll probably just help drag that dang T-Rex skull back to
I mean, but you could get another species.
I guess we could, yeah.
And then we could have, like, matching little coffee tables.
Matching coffee tables. Yeah, I would totally bring back a Triceratops skull, which is probably twice as heavy as a T-Rex skull.
That's not the best coffee table, Callie.
No, but it doesn't have to be a coffee table. Just, like, above the mantle, in my tiny apartment. It'll take up my entire front room.
Worth it. Yeah, you'll squeeze it. You know what? It could be a good coat rack if you have a very big entryway, because now we're moving you into a mansion.
Of course.
And then you get home after a long day, you hang up your coat, on one of the horns and
eyebrow horn.
That's your day-to-day.
Day-to-day, yeah, because now I'm a famous time traveler that survived a year after the impact. Oh my gosh. Survived with scars, I'm sure. My goodness. Well, all right, everybody, go outside and get some sunlight after this one.
Enjoy not being in an impact winter.
Yeah, boy, howdy. Eat all the good foods, not slugs and toxic fungus. My goodness. Well, this was great to have you along. I don't think
thanks for putting up with me. Together we will survive. There's not been an impact, or there's not been a time period that has beat us yet.
No.
So, you know what? Cheers to you. We didn't do too bad.
Yes. You've lost track of how long you've been immersed in this world of perpetual darkness, but all you know is that it's time to leave. Whether it's the chronic lack of vitamin D or just the bleakness of this time, nearly every moment you've been here has been a bummer. Trying to desperately cling to life after the most sudden and dramatic catastrophe in history has been no mean feat. And while the cataclysm itself was rapid, the planet's recovery from it will be slow. It'll be months or years before photosynthesis restarts, decades before the impact winter fully ends, millennia for complex ecosystems to rebuild themselves, and millions of years for biodiversity levels to fully recover. When that recovery is complete, the world will be a very different place from what it was before. The age of giant reptiles is over, but the end of the reign of the non-avian dinosaurs will allow another cast of characters to take center stage. When the sun finally breaks through the clouds, the stubborn survivors that you encountered will gaze upon a new world filled with enormous ecological opportunities. Among them, tiny furry mammals like Purgatorius will have a chance to rise from the ashes of this wasteland and spread into new niches that they never occupied before. And if they hadn't been able to eke out an existence through that ancient long night, you and I wouldn't be around to hear about it now. This wasteland was not just a graveyard of an old world, but the cradle of a new one. Thanks for joining us on this journey into deep time. Tune in next episode to hear us try to survive the time the Mediterranean Sea dried up. In the meantime, you can find us telling more stories from our planet's past over at youtube.com/eons. This episode was written by Farhan Mehta, fact-checked by me, Callie Moore, and hosted by me and Michelle Barboza Ramirez. It was edited by Chris Ankiko, and our sound design and mix was by Callie Dishman. The show is produced by Sarah Suda, our script editor is Dr. Paige Madison, and our editorial director is Dr. Darcy Shapiro. Our executive producers are Seth Radley and Hank Green. The executive in charge for PBS is Maribel Lopez, and John Campbell is PBS's Assistant Director of Programming. Eons Surviving Deep Time is a production of Complexly for PBS Digital Studios, and we are distributed by PRX. Until next time, you can always visit us over at youtube.com/eons for more stories from Deep Time.